Mom, welcome to Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Yep, thank you for joining with us again.
We always love doing this. And how is your day going thus far?
Brandon, I am doing fine. It is a Friday night. It felt good. We went out to dinner tonight, so we had a good time. So it is a good day, Brandon.
Well, that's good to hear, and this year's off to a great start.
It sure is. It sure is. Are you ready to talk about another mockumentary, Brandon?
I sure am.
All right. Thank you for coming back for First Episode Friday.
Yes, and which first episode are we speaking about here today?
Today we're going to talk about Parks and Rec.
Yes, and this is the pilot episode titled Pilot, and this released on April the 9th of 2009.
Yes. And I'm giving you just a little bit of information about this particular episode itself. First of all, one of the main characters' name is Leslie. So Leslie is a deputy director who is trying to help her city. She attends, and during the first episode, she attends a community engagement and promises to build a park on land that was not developed as it really should have been. And so this actually apparently starts off the series. I did kind of look ahead a little bit, and it looks like this park that she's trying to build actually kind of bridges several episodes for the first season. And so that is how we begin the Parks and Rec series.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome,
And
Brandon.
overall, what did you think about this first episode?
You know what, Brandon? I liked it. Such a difference, and I don't mean to compare. We talked about The Office last week. The Office started off kind of slow for me. There was nothing wrong with the episode, but it started off kind of slow. This one I thought just kind of picked right up. I thought that it did for me really well. And so in comparison, I would watch this one first since we're comparing mockumentaries. But I thought it did a great job. It was fast paced, understandable, and I thought they did a nice job. What about you, Brandon?
Yeah, Mom, I'm definitely going to have to agree. I mean, I thought that this was, I don't know, it felt more modern, even though 2009 it's still a bit older, but it felt a lot more modern, especially with doing the Office comparison. And and I thought it was very funny. And I know, at least for me, I'm not, I guess, the most crazy about mockumentary style shows, in just the sense of that it's not my favorite like directing style. But I will say that I quite enjoyed this, and I'm excited to dive into episode 2.
Actually, Brandon, same here. I am looking forward to watching future episodes. Just so everyone knows, I have not seen Parks and Rec at all. So this is my first time venturing into it, watching it. And so, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yes, I definitely am surprised. And Mom, I know that you had picked the show because I know when we were trying to figure out shows that we hadn't seen before, this was like on one of the top of your list.
It was. I remember my cousin and I talking about this show. And like I said, it was just a conversation. I never watched it. And so it was nice to finally watch this episode. And then, like I said, once more, just to be pleasantly surprised that it was entertaining.
Yeah, it definitely is. But Mom, what would you say like was your main draw to it, especially actually before we even compare it further, like what would you say is appealing you to this show?
I don't know. I thought it was there was a witty sense of humor about the show. I thought it was quick paced. You're right about the modern part of it. I don't know why this appeared more modern than The Office, but it did. And I like the interaction between, like I said, Leslie and her coworkers throughout the series. As something that I thought that this show did that The Office did not do is that this show actually introduced all the characters, and they introduced it in a way with their title, their city title per se, and so that you knew exactly who these characters were, at least their name and their title. I struggled when I was watching The Office because it didn't introduce the characters that way. It's almost like it was starting in the middle, which is something that I think we've talked about before. I that is not my preference for watching the first episode. I kind of like to have some sort of initiating factor, and in this case, the initiating factor for Parks and Rec is really the fact that she's making a park, or creating a park out of this land. And I guess we're going to see some of the adventures that kind of go on while she's doing that. We'll have to let you know in the future if that's what really happens.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for us, like I said, to tune into the show. And in terms of, like, I guess what makes this modern, I'd say one of the differences I feel is even the coloring of, like, the actual film, in the sense, or videotape, in the sense that the colors really pop. Whereas I feel that for, like, The Office, for instance, it seemed a little bit more, not necessarily grainy, but more monotone with the coloring.
I would say dull.
That works too.
Yeah, no, and you're correct. This one, I thought the coloring was very clear and crisp, and that in itself just kind of made it pop, like you said.
But yes, but there's not really a considerable, I guess, time gap between the two series, though.
No, there's not. It's just all about style, and so I guess with this one being more fast paced, the producers decided that we need to change a little bit of the color and to show the crispness of it, and so maybe that's the reason why.
And I will say that for this one, what's a little bit different, because both in both shows, not to make this whole discussion of per se a compare contrast, but in both shows you do have a little bit of humor shown by some of the characters. In the first episode of The Office, you had sort of the everything going into the Jello sort of thing. And all of those sort of miney, like, I guess, office gags throughout the episode. But for here, I would say what I like, and something I've always said I've liked, is the physical comedy, especially when Leslie goes falling down the hole, because you're able to sort of see that sort of in real time. I know, of course, it's not really in real time, but I think that's sort of more to my sense of humor, because it's the outright funny as opposed to the subtle funny.
It is. It is. And something else I thought about with this, with a different, not to compare, like you said, but I think we're doing it anyway. This one actually was more plot driven, I think, and the other one was more character driven. And I know we talk a lot about character development and things like that, but when you've only watched the first episode, you kind of need for the plot to drive it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, because I think about even to some of my favorite shows I watch, and I know most of the time, yeah, for a show that you have a very specific, I guess, beginning and end point. But there's some shows that I think are, I'm not gonna say, like, I guess, a rare thing, but there's some episodes where it's a little bit more, not necessarily, like, I guess, serious, but you're able to get sort of a different take where it's more about the storyline. I mean, about the characters. But I feel that you kind of have to earn that and get to know the characters first, so that way you can really relate to it and be like, oh, that character's doing that because that was his or her own thing. But we don't know the characters yet, so it's kind of hard to really place characters, as doing certain things or acting in a certain way when you aren't familiar with the show.
Yep, that is very true. Very, very true.
But something I thought was a little bit interesting, I mean, in watching both shows, is the theme songs and how they've evolved within this mockumentary time.
Yes. Now, I like I said, I watched the first episode twice. I think for both of them. I do remember thinking that I liked the theme song for Parks and Rec better. It seemed to be a little bit more fast paced, and that's being brief because I'm not as familiar with the theme song as I am with other shows, of course.
Yes, but as we've noticed, sort of the evolution of the theme songs over the years, like we have, like, the 1960s, for instance, where oftentimes you have the full-on story, everything told. The 80s are usually something catchy with heartfelt words. Sometimes a little bit the 70s too. Um, I see now, I guess, in the 2000s going into the 2000s, well, mid 2000s going into, like, the 2010s with these mockumentaries. It seems like we're straight instrumental with fast pace, a whole bunch of like, quickly moving images, but with names though.
Yes, yes. But I was just happy to see they did have a theme song because, as we know, in the 2000 era, that a lot of times theme songs started to disappear.
Yes. And Mom, is there anything before, I guess, I go into, I guess, some of my overall thoughts and questions? Is there anything that you wanted to say?
Well, no, Brandon, I like to rate the series 1 through 5, 5 being the highest. This episode I gave a 4 to. Like I said, pleasantly surprised. I gave it a 4.
Mom, I also gave it a 4.
Okay, sounds good. And what else did you want to speak about, Brandon?
Yes, I had one to say. So, as the audience may or may not know, is that we, for the most part, well, I should say you and me, not having watched it, as a result, is that we don't, out of all of our TV watching, we don't really watch a lot of things, in the 21st century outside of like the last couple years.
I know. I could blame it on being busy raising children, but but that is correct. We watch, or I'll speak for myself. I have watched very few shows within the last 20 years. The shows that I do watch, like I kind of mentioned, is onesie twosies, and I kind of concentrate just on those two or three shows that I watch.
Yeah, so really for us, at least for me, it wasn't until us starting these discussions online that really we started, I guess, opening our horizons to the shows that we've missed out on, or in some cases, outright avoided.
Yes, well, I would say thank goodness for streaming services now, and we're able to kind of recapture some of those things that at least that I missed during that time period.
Absolutely. And Mom, I mean, based off of this first episode, where would you say that you think the series is going to go? I don't really know much of anything, and I don't know how much you had really done in research. And so, like, would you have any predictions as to where the series would go off of this pilot?
Actually, I have no idea where this series is going to go throughout this pilot, based on this pilot. I really don't. Mockumentary shows are written a little differently, and so I don't know what direction they're trying to take. And so that'll be interesting to see how it kind of ends up. And I'm pretty sure that I'll go continue watching Parks and Rec.
Yes, I definitely can say that. I don't know if I really know per se like a direct um I guess direction, but I will say that them putting the park where the pit is, I think will be quite interesting. I don't know if that's necessarily something that would be solved per se, or maybe by the end of season one. I would guess, but I'm curious to see like how the characters develop, and especially the sort of boyfriend character that's shown with the two broken legs, played by Chris Pratt. I'm curious as to if he will stick around because I noticed that he's in the theme song as a guest star.
I didn't pick up on that, so wow.
But yeah, but we do have a connection.
Oh, what is our connection, Brandon?
So our connection is with the actress Aubrey Plaza.
Okay, and what's our connection with her?
Yes. So she had previously, or I guess after this, but we have previously watched her in the series Agatha all along.
Okay, that's good to know, Brandon. She did look familiar when I saw her.
But yes, and so in this show she plays April.
Okay, sounds good. I wonder if she'll be on future episodes.
Yes, I'm definitely interested to know.
Yeah. All right, and well, we thank everybody for watching. Let us know. Did you watch Parks and Rec? What were your thoughts?
Yes, definitely. Please feel free to let us know.
All right, everybody. Have a great
We'll see you
day.
next time.
Bye bye, everybody.